Dear participants, we are ready to start our diplomatic session. Today, I'm glad to see you all. We start our session in the central time of pandemic of COVID-19, but we are all together. It's our major point of the diplomacy section or for our all the summit, that we are all together. So I'd like to, first I'd like to present myself. My name is Alexei Kuloff. I'm a head of Association Leaders of International Cooperation. If you would like to have, or if you have now some question about our session, please ask. But let me inform you that our section will divide on two parts. First part, we will have time for our speakers, speakers who stay with us here, and speakers who will connect with us by Zoom or I don't know the real devices, how we connect with them. And then, after 1.5 hours, we will have a free time for 10 minutes. And then, all your questions, all your proposals, all your report, speech, or anything else that you would like to say here, you would have enough time for that. So after 10 minutes of free time, we will have 1 hour of discussion and clarified our resolution of the BRICS summit. I mean the part of youth diplomacy, official and public. So let me introduce my co-moderator, chairman of the Council of Young Diplomats of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, real treasure of diplomacy service of Russia, Mr. Constantine Kalpakov. Mr. Kalpakov, please join us and guide us to the next part of our session. Please. Do we have a connection with Mr. Kalpakov? No connection. Everything is. If something could happen wrong, it will happen wrong. So let's work as in agile of diplomacy, and let me introduce the next speaker and my second co-moderator and colleague, Ms. Oksana Pekushova, member of the Presidium of the Council of Young Diplomats of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please, I need to involve you in this crisis of connection.
Thank you, dear Alexei. Let me congratulate you all here. I'm very glad to see the representatives of BRICS countries, very huge delegates from all the countries that are united in this organization. So today we are undergoing unprecedented conditions linked with the COVID-19, and today's offline event, to my mind, should be considered as a great opportunity to have eye-to-eye contact and to communicate as we did it before. Our session, Diplomacy, Official and Public, And we have a long list of presentations. I think that we can start. So, and the first speaker will be Alexei Kuloff, member of the Presidium of the Council of Young Diplomats of the Russian Foreign Ministry. We have Alexei here or not? So,
please, let's check the connection with Alexei Kuloff. Do we have the connection with him? Once again. Maybe they have another session in the foreign ministry. I
maybe
suppose.
some unpredictable
Yes.
conditions. Well, so we need to move on. I think that my colleagues will join us a little bit later. And the next speaker will be Ms. Chan Cheong, PhD postdoctoral research fellow, Institute of Global Cooperation and Understanding from China.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, you may start
you-
your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. The COVID-19 is posing unprecedented and gravest challenge to all the nations around the world. The increasing death tolls, economic stagnation, and serious insufficiency of international cooperation, along with nationalism, unitarianism, and protectionism, are intensified among the countries, different races, even families. Next slide, please. And despite all this, members of the BRICS are actively finding their ways out through advocating international governance of multilateral organizations, promoting common values, and strengthening effective public diplomacy channels to work together to fight these challenges. Next slide, please. Representing about 40% of the world population and 23% of the world GDP, the 5 powers of BRICS are expected to play a certain role in dealing with the COVID-19. According to the World Bank, the emerging economies 2020 growth projection are minus 2.5%, still ahead global average growth, which is minus 5.2%. In fact, the BRICS member made some remarkable joint efforts to counter the pandemic by establishing many multilateral institutions, including the New Development Bank. The bloc has demonstrated the will of emerging economies to assume greater responsibilities in global financial governance. Although the power of discourse remains limited at the BRICS countries together. Furthermore, China, Russia, and Brazil also collaborated in developing vaccines. Right now, India, Brazil, Russia together have more than 90 million people infected by COVID-19, according to the Johns Hopkins University. Next slide, please. But false allegations and conspiracy theories linked to COVID-19 is still bothered a lot of young people here in China. So today I would like to share my observations on how does China prevent COVID-19. In the fight of COVID-19 pandemic, China, as the first victim of the virus, is taking swift measures. Next slide, please. First, the professional medical surgeons, nurses, and the professional virus scientists are showing incredible powers and courage. They were in the frontier of this great battle and suffered the most. According to the white paper of China in Action, Fighting COVID-19, there were 620,000 surgeons and nurses from all over the country fighting against the virus in Wuhan. Second, China's virtue of respect the aged and caring for the young are showing great moral power in social governance. People choose to obey the rule of keeping social distance and wearing masks because families come to the first. At April 8th this year, after 4 months of locking down, Wuhan was lifted the travel restrictions finally. Third, Millions of social workers from different branches of the community organizations are sacrificing their valuable time and health, building up huge data system of patients' travel history through door-to-door interview. According to Chinese Health Department official data in February, there were more than 8 million community staff were involving into this tremendous fight against COVID-19. Next slide, please. Just a couple of days before, President Xi spoke on the opening ceremony of BRICS Summit. In his speech, the top 6 words are we, development, COVID-19, cooperation, vaccine, economy. They were not only representing Chinese vision, but also shared by BRICS members. The coronavirus is still causing havoc in many places, and waves of infections are resurging. Securing a worldwide victory against the pandemic remains an uphill journey. Nearly 1 year into the battle, many countries have gained important experience on COVID-19 containment and made encouraging progress in drugs and vaccine research and development. China will continue making COVID-19 vaccines a global public good, ensuring their affordability and accessibility, particularly for developing countries, and also keep sharing essential information and emerging medical resources. But there are more to be done by us as the impactor. Next slide, please. First, to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic, countries should share the common value that the livelihood of people should come to the first of governing. The pandemic demands a fearful, immediate response. Community lockdown, social distancing, and wearing masks are the simplest and effective ways to stop the infection. Members of the BRICS can share the successful experiences and put human beings' life at the top priority of the government. Second, the consistent commitments and strong actions are the best examples of good and efficient global governance for all the governments around the world. International organizations and agreements like BRICS, G20, and newly signed RCEP are the best demonstration of the resilience and great potentials of developing countries in current international arena. In the next round of economy recovery and digital technology innovation, the BRICS members should unite together to break through the technological entry barriers, build common principles, and set standards of technology accessibility. Third, members of the BRICS should build up public diplomacy channels at different levels. During the pandemic, top Chinese doctors are sharing COVID-19 prevention and treatment experiences with foreign peers from different countries, including US, European countries, and BRICS members. Through the webinar meeting, Chinese doctors from Peking, Wuhan, and Shanghai Hospital are updating the details on virus impact on children and the most dangerous underlying conditions affecting patients' outcomes. Likewise, Chinese doctors and virus researchers are publishing new findings in international top journals like The Lancet, helping people to know better with the virus. Also, the Chinese people around the world are donating medical supplies to China at January and February. After March, Chinese are donating tens of thousands of medical supplies to all the countries that suffered from COVID-19. We can see that public diplomacy is the best cure for the fight against divide. Science, education, and technology innovation can provide channels for young people to freely connect with each other and gain better understanding of the world. As young delegates, we are obligated to speak the truth and clear the misleading information. So I support the delegation framework and hope more social power from each member can evolve into build more public diplomacy channels. And together, we fight. That's the end of the speech. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you very much to Mrs. Zhang Xiaoqin. Yes, that is the really point of our diplomacy work. Either official diplomacy or public diplomacy, doesn't matter, because nowadays we can't make some wrong things when we look to the COVID danger. Nowadays, Russia registered 2 vaccines against the COVID-19. I'm grafted 2 months ago as the example of that, and I suppose that all of us, all the BRICS countries, could do the same, not maybe as the pioneers of this vaccine, but I know that Brazil and China make some nowadays do have some experience about this vaccine, and maybe they will produce, that country will produce this vaccine, because it's very necessary for stopping and the corona virus. And one major point of that, we should depoliticize this topic about coronavirus, and BRICS countries look forward for that. That is very necessary and very well to know and hear about that. Thank you once again. Next speaker, I'd like to introduce expert at the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Artem Fomin. Please.
Hello. Dear colleagues, first and foremost, let me express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of the BRICS Youth Summit. We highly value the opportunity to have a close dialogue with the representatives of the youth organizations, especially during these unprecedented times of the pandemic caused by a rapid spread of the novel coronavirus disease. The COVID-19 pandemic outbreak has had a very serious negative impact on the international relations and many multilateral bodies. It became a global crash test, not only for the health systems, but for the world economy and finances, trade and industry, and people-to-people contacts. Such new challenges and other issues of a global nature are requiring a collective response. Under these circumstances, up-to-date mechanisms of interstate cooperation based on principles of collegiality and equality have the best prospects. BRICS, having united 5 distinctive civilizations, have become one of such formats. This name is quite symbolic in the sense that these 5 countries represent different regions, cultures, types of governance, and economic regulation. But they are united in achieving a better, more just, democratic, and harmonious world order. Against this backdrop, today is no longer possible to imagine a palette of international relations without BRICS. The Group of 5 has come a long way, more than a decade from the club of interests to an extensive cooperation network, which covers almost all domains of the intergovernmental relations and people-to-people exchanges. It has developed a strong immunity to various crises, as well as an ability to address different issues in a very flexible manner. We are united in rejecting protectionism and unilateral coercive measures, destructive agenda imposed from the outside. The cornerstone of modern multilateralism should be sovereign right of states to choose their own path of development, based not on the rules invented by someone, but on international law and the UN Charter. Within the political pillar, BRICS promotes the centrality of the UN in settling topical issues of the international agenda, strive for more balanced and stable world order where interests of emerging markets and developing countries are duly respected. Our countries consistently advocate constructive relations with other states, integration entities, and international organizations. In our common opinion, this interaction should continue to build on the principles of respect for the UN Charter and the fundamental rules of international law, such as sovereign equality of states, non-interference in internal affairs, and peaceful settlement of disputes. We have achieved a clear progress in BRICS economic cooperation. The new development bank is fully operational now, with a project portfolio of more than 65 projects, counting more than $20 billion. This year, the NDB established an emergency assistance facility to meet the needs of its member countries, providing emergency loans that could be used to finance direct expenses related to the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak, or provide support to governmental measures contributing to economic recovery its membership. Our cooperation on people-to-people track also gains momentum. We note intensification of youth contacts, ties between parliamentarians, academics, and civil societies. Dear colleagues, in 2020, entering the second decade of its existence, BRICS has demonstrated its vitality and relevance. This year, Russia took over BRICS chairmanship from Brazil. The Russian BRICS chairmanship considers it of utmost importance that in close cooperation with strong support of our partners, we keep the fire of BRICS burning under the current trying circumstances in 2020. We consider increasing living standards and quality of life of peoples of our countries as a primary task and tangible outcome of the BRICS cooperation and the Russian chairmanship in 2020. As previous BRICS chairs, Russia continued to make progress on all three pillars of BRICS cooperation, such as policy and security, economy and finance, culture, and humanitarian contacts. We upheld continuity and invariable principles and values of the BRICS partnership. This year, as we all know, ended up being unlike any other, full of unexpected challenges and unpredicted implications. But despite the current circumstances related to the COVID-19 pandemic, we managed to stay focused on the key BRICS priorities and organize most of the originally planned meetings. We have held more than 130 events, including some 25 ministerial meetings. Unfortunately, naturally in this situation, many of them had to take place online. With the global COVID-19 pandemic raging, the Russian BRICS chairmanship has done its best to adjust the format of the pinnacle of this year's agenda, 12th BRICS Summit that took place on November 17, to the current unprecedented environment. As a result of the BRICS cooperation, we have managed to adopt 40 outcomes, initiatives, and statements this year, in particular, BRICS counterterrorism strategy, strategy for BRICS Economic Partnership 2025, Declaration on the establishment of the BRICS Women's Business Alliance. Dear colleagues, to sum up, I would like to dwell on the youth cooperation between our countries. Youth have always been the powerhouse of new innovations, aspirations, and social change in any society. They constitute the most energetic and vibrant segment of the society. This particular BRICS Youth Summit was established to discuss the prospects of youth cooperation in the political, economic, humanitarian, and cultural fields. Traditionally, BRICS Youth Summit, with the participation of the representatives of the youth line agencies and public organizations, sums up the work of the current year in this field and develops action plans for the future. It's encouraging to mention that the Russian chairmanship in 2020 paid a particular attention to the youth track, with a considerable number of outcomes and initiatives adopted, such as Russia BRICS International Youth Cooperation Project Office, launched here in Ульяновске. with the purpose to strengthen further the youth cooperation between our 5 nations. We hope that soon all these outcomes will provide us concrete and practical results. I wish all the participants of the BRICS Youth Summit and this session in particular fruitful and successful work. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Artyom, for your in-depth and thorough presentation of Russia's presidency within BRICS format. So we could say that the BRICS format provides a channel, vital channel for young people cooperation. Today we are testing unprecedented situation, and the BRICS, the cooperation within BRICS will gives us a unique opportunity to unite our collective steps to fight COVID-19 and other issues as well. The BRICS format is against protectionism and unilateral measures. The members of this union promote sovereign rights of every state and a path of individual development, taking into consideration unique cultural and religious differences. The BRICS format also advocates the central role of the United Nations concerning financial agenda. The new development bank created assistance facilities against COVID-19 pandemic. BRICS is a powerhouse of innovation, inspiration, and a unique platform for exchange views and ideas. This year, during Russia's presidency, BRICS hold more than 130 meetings and events, paying special attention to youth tracks. Thank you once again, and now I would like to give the floor to another participant of our session. So it's Mr. Hulikani Skasana, African National Congress Youth League International Legion Officer, South Africa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having us. I am speaking to you live from the land of peace and prosperity, the African continent. I speak to you representing a lot of African young people, not only from South Africa. And I'm quite excited to be participating in this forum and under the theme challenges of the time for young people. I think my biggest challenge is that I would have loved to have flown to Russia and be sitting there with you, but that is okay. We will not allow coronavirus to deter us. I must start by sending a special greeting to His Excellency President Putin, a champion of the people, as Russia is the host nation for this year's BRICS Summit. I would also like to greet everyone who is watching, in particular people of the Russian Federation. I think representing South Africa, it is very important that we highlight that as of 2015, the 5 BRICS countries represent over 3.6 billion people, or about 41% of the world population. All five member states are in the top 25 of the world population, and 4 of them are in the top 10. President O.R. Tambo teaches us that countries that do not take care of their youth do not have a future. Thus, the future of BRICS depends on a cooperative focus on youth development. The best way to develop the youth is through education and the creation of opportunities. The youth population across the world is estimated at 60%. BRICS countries have similar demographics, meaning the large part of the population in BRICS is under the age of 35 years of age. The existence of BRICS necessitates unity among youth and students of member nations. The lack of proper organization and coordination weakens the youth impact and recognition. It also opens the BRICS to infiltration by external organizations that are opposed to BRICS. A better organized structure would assist in many ways, including coordinating media groups in member countries to assist put the message of BRICS on the map, provide factual news on the hegemonic media, as the hegemonic media continues to sell a narrative that BRICS is a failure, and they continue coordinating regime change agendas via the media. As you would note, very recently this year, when we were supposed to be celebrating the victory against the fascist former Nazi regime, a narrative was driven that Russia, for instance, had no hand. When we read and we know the history and the truth that the Soviet Union is the one that defeated Hitler. So we cannot allow those who are opposed to the progress that we're trying to foster to continue to tell lies about the intentions that surround formations like BRICS. It is important that as young people, we do not allow a scenario where there are things for us without us. As we occupy, or as we represent 41% of the population amongst BRICS countries, it is important that we seek and lobby for a seat. It is unfortunately unpalatable that we do not have a youth office in Beijing at the headquarters of BRICS. We continue to have summits. Yes, they are progressive and necessary, but we feel as South Africa that is quite important and imperative that there be an establishment of a youth secretariat, a BRICS youth secretariat that is formally recognized by the heads of state, because they continue to meet very nicely and take decisions. I mean, they recently formed what we call the BRICS New Development Bank. But we have so many concepts as young people as we sit and meet here and conceptualize over what we think should be the future of our respective 5 countries. Therefore, we think that the establishment of a youth secretariat is quite important, as that is our first recommendation to this gathering. We think that the youth secretariat, if established, should coordinate meetings with member states, face-to-face and telephonic, amongst leaders of youth agencies and youth ministries. We think that the composition of the secretariat, member states should at least send 2 delegates to form part of the secretariat. And importantly, the youth secretariat would assist in implementation of these resolutions that we would be taking here. But more interestingly, our memorandum of understanding as respective youth representatives of BRICS countries. And we think it's high time that in the midst of coronavirus and challenges, we should take it upon ourselves as young people to establish at least a virtual office where we are at least able to interact via teleconference probably once a month, because as appreciating the importance of this gathering, it is also important to highlight that it is nearly impossible to squeeze issues of billions of young people from BRICS countries in one summit once a year. So we think that it's quite important that we're able to interact at least once a month through our respective leaders of youth agencies and youth ministries. Our second recommendation as South Africa is that in terms of the fourth industrial revolution, it is important that we focus on creating access to quality education and make education key in the ICT sector. We should develop legislation that will support the development of the fourth industrial revolution, the promotion of the youth entrepreneurship in the ICT sector. We should lobby for ICT infrastructure development in rural areas. We should lobby for the development of a policy integrating ICT in housing, infrastructure, and social housing development. We should lobby for the reduction of technological prices, as we know that telecommunication devices and technological instruments are quite pricey, and a young person myself has a difficulty affording those instruments just to be able to interact with yourselves there. We think that in terms of our third recommendation, BRICS Business Council and the New Development Bank, we should create an online platform, say maybe BRICS Youth Portal, where BRICS young people are able to exchange information on the opportunities that they have or that they seek. We think that we should lobby the BRICS Development Bank to provide youth-owned enterprises with funding. We think that there should be an establishment of inter-BRICS business incubator programs. We know that there are many incubator programs that are already there, but we think they should be expanded and extended. We should strongly advocate for the simplification of visa granting procedure for youth entrepreneurs, cultural and educational programs. We should roll out awareness programs on the mandate of the bank. We should lobby and advocate a youth venture capital fund. We should establishment of BRICS Youth Business Forum. And in terms of curriculum reform and access to education, jobs for the future, it is important that we advocate and lobby for the synchronization of TVET colleges, or what we call colleges, but we call them technical vocational education and training colleges, and similar structures in other BRICS countries. There should be extensive research that informs the jobs of the future, student learning exchange programs across BRICS countries, lobby for integrated education system that speak to the development needs of the BRICS countries, should advocate for the decommercialization of the education system across BRICS countries. We need a BRICS Youth Job Summit. I understand that this is all encompassing, but we need a BRICS Youth Job Summit that focuses on unemployment, which is thriving around BRICS countries. As you would know, COVID-19 has resulted in a lot of young people losing their jobs. In terms of political and humanitarian cooperation, we think it's important to look at the BRICS Youth Summit as a platform for youth from BRICS countries to meet annually and share the best practices. The sharing of best practices must include opposing terrorism in all its forms between the two, between countries that are cooperative in identifying and eliminating political and economic as well as social causes. The need to mainstream youth development in all streams as a cross-cutting issue. This will further create and support the intra and interstate governmental channels for social participation, and thus deepen youth interaction. And with those few words, I know we have limited time. I thank you for having us, and I would like to quote President Nelson Mandela that the young people of today are the leaders of the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech, Mr. Kulikani. Yes, I let me choose one major point for me and maybe for our participants. You propose that there are very necessary to make some education or acceleration program between BRICS countries and bilateral or multilateral program. So I suppose that every country or every actors in that countries could do something as they can do. So Russian Federal Agency of Youth Affairs, I mean VI Молодежь, on behalf of the Russian government made this year one acceleration program on IT platform Zoom. It was the first BRICS Youth Business Incubator. We work for 2 weeks. So first weeks was networking sessions for all the 5 countries. Every day, countries, participants of that business incubator introduce their business projects or some strategy or some startups which they made with their teams and which they create maybe some or propose something. So after that 1 week, all of them have an expert session or have an education session about international trade cooperation, about IT project, about the resources which BRICS countries has for sharing to the young entrepreneurs. I mean the supporting program for startups or some infrastructure program among the BRICS countries. So we have already started this program, and it's a non-government, non-profit program. We can share to all of us, to all the ministries of BRICS or to some non-government organization of BRICS. We can share the experience of this program. We can give some proposals how to do this program, how to combine the delegation, all the details and other things, and we can give maybe some information about foundation of this program. Maybe it will be some kind of necessary information for you. So it's very good things that we touched on our session about the education program and acceleration program. It's very important, and I hope that it will be implemented in our resolution. So let me introduce the next speaker, Alexei Kuloff, member of the Presidium of the Council Young Diplomats of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Maybe now we can, yes, we can connect. Please.
Good afternoon, distinguished co-chairs, my fellow colleagues and participants of the session from 4 continents. My warmest greetings to all of you, and I'm celebrating the opportunity to be here, live with you in these difficult times from Moscow, Russia, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So let me speak on behalf of the Russian young professional diplomats and share our view of the image of a modern young diplomat. Russia is lucky to have a regional and sophisticated system of training professional diplomats, which have very deep roots in its historical tradition in this field. There are even 2 subordinate universities in the system of the Russian MFA that are training, focused on training professional diplomats. And the distinctive features of the Russian approach in training diplomats are as follows: that every diplomat knows at least 2 languages, 2 foreign languages, and very often these include one so-called real language. Also, every diplomat has a good knowledge of at least 1 country or 1 region. Also, young diplomat also is deeply competent in at least 1 additional field area, that is economy or journalism or political science or international law. So we think that all of these features do not lose their relevance in the modern world. As a member of the Council of Young Diplomats of the Russian MFA and as the head of the School of Young Diplomats, which is operating under the auspices of the Council of Young Diplomats, I would like to undermine that in our operation, we proceed from the approach that every young diplomat should have strong skills in 2 major fields. That is dealing with information in all possible ways and dealing with people. So being able to, what concerns information, it means being able to accept, interpret, analyze, recycle, if I may put it like that, and produce information, both in writing or verbally. And be dealing with people means that every young diplomat should be able to interconnect with people in all possible ways, and with people representing every other profession, every other sphere. Because as a Russian diplomat, I can say that we frequently organize different protocol events at our embassies, where we are able to interconnect with an extremely wide range of people representing all the professions. And so it's extremely important for a young diplomat to be charismatic enough to have a wide erudition, to be able to go inside in every issue. What is, I've mentioned something that is taught in schools and universities, but there is one more issue in the Russian system of training diplomats. That is, I would say, some outstanding personal examples of being charismatic, of being professional, and of having a brilliant sense of humor. And those are represented, for example, by a worldwide known diplomat, the head of Russian diplomacy, Sergei Lavrov. Who is, to my mind, a brilliant example for every young diplomat in every field. Coming back to the 2 major fields, the young diplomat should be competent in information, dealing with information, dealing with people. This means that every young diplomat should have strong, both strong intelligence and emotional intelligence. And I can share my personal experience. As we are joking, it's a secret weapon of the Russian system of training diplomats that we have in our ministry. We have a team who takes part in the famous Russian TV show «Что, где, когда». It sounds in Russian. In English, it sounds what, where, when. And this is, if you don't know it, search it on the internet. It's a unique format invented in Russia, where 6 people in 1 minute try to answer difficult questions. But coming back to the modern world, there is, so what I've mentioned, it has been truth centuries ago. But what is distinctive in the modern world for the young diplomat is that I think every young diplomat should be very competent in technologies, in all kinds of technologies, because technology nowadays is a game changer. It's a key factor in progress, in success, and that's a challenge, because technologies are developing in such a fast pace that it's really hard even for intelligent people to catch up with them. And I was speaking on behalf of the Russian professional diplomats, but the rising challenges and the increasing intensity of interconnections in the modern world undermine the strong need for more diplomats, because professional diplomats is not enough. And I can't agree more with the previous speaker from South Africa that we need as much diplomats in a broad sense as possible. We need competent diplomats in every field, except, not only professional diplomats, as we call them. And I would like to finish with the words of one outstanding Russian commander of the 17th, the 18th century, Alexander Suvorov. He used to say, money is important, people are more important, and time is the most important. And I would like to mention, I would like to undermine that time is the resource the young people are most rich of. So this is the young people who have more time than anyone else. So I'd like to call on all the participants to keep in mind that we need all as much bridges and as much diplomats in every field as we can. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alexei, for your report. It was very interesting. So as we understand, Russian diplomat should know 2 foreign languages as minimum, or maybe more, should be deeply confident in different spheres, and should have a very good skill in dealing with information and with people as well. Diplomat should also go inside in every issue he or she is studying. Diplomat should also be charismatic and have a very good sense of humor. Very good words said by Suvorov. Time is the most important resource that we have. I think that people who are here today, young members of different young leaders of the BRICS countries, should use time to get great aims and to unite our collective efforts. Thank you. And now we see Constantine Kalpakov. Constantine, so I'm giving the floor to you. Maybe once again some technical. It's okay. It's okay. So you may start your presentation.
Can you hear me, colleagues?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everybody. I would like to greet dear colleagues on behalf of the Council of Young Diplomats, and as Oksana already, I'm sure, told you, we are very glad to be with you, mostly on remote, but of course some of us are in Ульяновск. And we would like to start the session, and if I'm not mistaken, Alexei already introduced the session devoted to the diplomacy, official diplomacy and public diplomacy. And these times, BRICS our organization plays a very significant role in contributing to the diplomacy as it is, traditional diplomacy, and adding official and non-official and public sides. Some of us can call it like soft power, smart power, humanitarian contacts, scientific contacts, cultural youth contacts, but anyway, it is very important to coordinate official and public diplomacy. And what we would like to tell you is our Council of Young Diplomats is a very good example how young people already on service, on state service, professional diplomats can contribute also to public diplomacy. And we are functioning for almost 20 years, starting from 2001, and all our members, they are diplomats. And starting from the year 2014, we are devoting our efforts to organize different forums and meetings, bilateral and multilateral consultations among young diplomats all over the world. You can find this information on our website, and of course we will share it with you during this session. And one of the biggest or one of the most important targets in our service is to create contemporary professional young diplomat. And I would like to give the floor in this regard to the founder of the School of Young Diplomat, the member of Presidium of Council of Young Diplomats, Alexei Vladimirovich Kuloff, who will tell a little bit more how we work with youngsters, not only those who are at service in our foreign ministry, but also with those who are in institutes and even at schools. So Alexei, please, can you tell us a little bit more about what is happening with your project?
Mr. Kalpakov, we already heard the speech of Alexei, so we start our work 1 hour ago. Yes, and please now we should continue. Sorry for that. Yes, please, Oksana, maybe you will. Explain.
Okay, sorry, Constantine. We are giving the floor to Alexei Kuloff because he is making a very urgent, very important project within our council. So, Alexei, you are welcome. Just a few words because we have time limit.
Okay. So thank you for giving me floor for the second time. I think I wasn't supposed to make two speeches, but I'll try to make it short. As Constantine has already mentioned, I'm the head of the School of Young Diplomats of the Council of Young Diplomats of the Russian MFA, and it's the original idea behind the project is that we take young professionals and organize their meetings with the professionally oriented pupils and students, young people who are studying but are thinking of choosing their future profession. So I think it's the project is rather new. We launched it we launched this year, and we have already a dozen of speakers in our team, and we are holding several meetings every month with different universities and schools. And I suppose this is very important. Our experience here is unique, and it can be used. We are ready to share. Please feel free to contact us because in the modern world, even the professions themselves are changing so fast that once a young man comes to the university dreaming of becoming professional in any field, he finds out that in 5 years, when he finishes he finishes his or her studies and graduates from the university, the profession may be changed. So what we produce, the added value of our project is that we give them a unique opportunity to consider and reconsider the choice of the future profession. I would like
okay,
to
thank you, Alexei. Alexei, thank you.
Yeah.
So now we are going to give the floor to another participant of our session, representatives of India, Mrs. Varada Marathe and Mrs. Shrishti Kaul.
Hello. We have a presentation, so if that is put up. Yeah. Am I audible to everyone? May I begin with this presentation?
Yeah, we see it. We watch on your presentation. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Robin Hobb, an American writer, famously said, and I quote, "Diplomacy is the velvet glove that cloaks the fist of power." Hello, everyone. My group, Saksham, Srishti, and I are assigned this topic of official and public diplomacy. Srishti and I will be speaking to explore the facets of diplomacy. Can we please get the next slide, please? Diplomacy is the practice of conducting negotiations between representatives of states, groups, so as to influence decisions of foreign governments through dialogue, negotiation, and other non-violent means. But as the geopolitical scenario changed over the years, diplomacy also reformed itself, and new term has been coined, which is the topic of our discussion today: official and public diplomacy. One can understand official diplomacy as the highest level of meeting between the heads of the states with their respective delegations of diplomats and socialists. Here, both the parties work on mutual interests in different key areas like economy, politics, science, trade, agriculture, business, strategy, and so on. The nature of official diplomacy is more formal and written, where both heads of the state generally hold a press conference and inform its people about the decision two parties have made in mutual interest. However, public diplomacy is considered more effective and real in nature, as it directly involves the people of the respective countries. Next slide, please. As you can see in both the pictures, cultural exchange programs, community outreach programs are a way of public diplomacy. Even the diaspora of a country that is residing in the other country is its soft power and can be used as a part of diplomacy. As we are in BRICS, talking about BRICS in particular, in 2001, the British economist Jim O'Neill coined the term BRIC to describe the four emerging economies of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, only to later be joined by South Africa in 2011. BRICS countries together account for 42% of world's population, a third of the global GDP, and 7% share of world trade. BRICS cooperation is broadly covered under economic, political, and security, and people-to-people exchanges. From its inception, finance and trade is a major area of intra-BRICS cooperation. This year also, in the 12th BRICS summit that was hosted by Russia with the theme Global Stability, Shared Security and Innovative Growth, Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi touched upon several issues while addressing the summit. He first spoke about terrorism. He stated that the biggest problem that the world is currently facing is terrorism. There is a need to confront the countries which support and sponsor terrorism. Such countries must be held accountable and the problem must be addressed in a unified manner by the BRICS countries coming together. India also acknowledged the support of Russia to the BRICS counter-terrorism strategy and further reiterated India's support to it. He also spoke about UNSA reforms, where he highlighted the issue of credibility and effectiveness of these institutions, which are important for global governance, and urged other BRICS members for their support. He then went on to speak about the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign. The government of India introduced Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign, or Self-Reliant India campaign, to its BRIC partners. India highlighted that the said campaign is based on a self-reliant and resilient India, and it can act as a force multiplier for the global economy in the post-COVID-19 world. Under this campaign, India delivered essential medicines to more than 150 countries because of the capability of the Indian pharma industry. Now, Srishti will take this presentation forward and speak about other aspects.
Thank you so much, Varada. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So my colleague has already given you an outline of the whole scenario, and I'll be taking it forward. First of all, greetings of the day, and it gives me immense pleasure to be representing the land of color, culture, and traditions here at 6th BRICS Youth Summit. So, starting with it. Positive cooperation of BRIC countries on global institutions and associations. The NDB, that is the National Development Bank. I'll be talking about the NDB and the CRA. BRICS cooperation is broadly covered under economic, political, and security. The people-to-people exchange from inception, finance, and trade has been a major area of infra-BRICS cooperation. New Development Bank, NDB, and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement, CRA, are the major outcomes of the cooperation. Now, you can see two graphs in the presentation. I'll be explaining it. The NDB and CRA are the major outcomes in this area. NDB has decided to fund 44 projects worth more than 12 billion USD within BRICS, including 8 projects worth rupees 3,246 million in India only. Next slide, please. Now, the challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic and the BRICS coping mechanism. As the world is hopeful for the COVID-19 vaccine, India underscores the issue of cooperation amongst the BRIC partners on the production of COVID-19 vaccines. Additionally, the scope of trade and improvement amongst the BRIC nations was highlighted by India. It is important to note that 42% of the world's population resides in the BRICS member nations, and being the major economies of the world, these nations will play an important role and part in the recovery of the post-COVID-19 world. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi also brought up this address at the summit in the context of larger UN reforms. They are the bodies like WTO, IMF, and the World Health Organization that don't reflect the realities of the present, and they need reform. Now, the mechanism for cooperation against COVID-19 among BRICS nations. Within the context of the current global health situation, Russian President Putin pointed to the subject of medical cooperation amongst the BRIC countries, and reminded the UFA declaration, which was adopted almost 5 years ago, included an argument and agreement to work together to prevent the spread of infectious diseases. Pursuant to that agreement, the BRICS countries created an early warning system for infectious diseases and outbreaks, which could be used during the COVID-19 pandemic. The BRICS countries responded to the diseases outbreak and took practical measures to combat these diseases and pandemic. Besides this, it is important to accelerate the establishment of BRICS Vaccine Research and Development Center, as agreed at the Johannesburg Summit 2 years ago at the initiative of South Africa. The COVID-19 and BRICS economic consideration, the new development bank, that is the NDB, is a great demand in the current situation. The bank has reserved $10 billion to combat the pandemic, which its overall portfolio of investment project now exceeds $20 billion. The bank has also provided RMB 7 billion to China and $1 billion to each India, Brazil, and South Africa. As many as 62 large products and projects are being implemented in BRICS countries. At the last of my speech, I would like to just focus on BRICS Declaration on World War II. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide? Right. BRICS recognizes the victory in Second World War as a common legacy and pay tribute to all those who fought there against fascism, tribalism, colonism, and for the liberation of the colonized, for the freedom of nations, and stresses the importance of preservation and inadmissibility of discretion on destruction of monuments erected in their remembrance. BRICS in its 12th summit recalled that born out of horrors of the Second World War, the United Nations as a common endeavor for humanity was established to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, and since then has helped to shape very situation of relations between the nation in the modern age. Our Prime Minister Modi in the address to the BRICS summit highlighted that India's great participation and the valor and courage of Indian soldiers during World War II. Can I have my last slide, please? The last slide, please. In the end, I would like to rest my words with a very famous quote on diplomacy, and that I believe will suffice the whole context of what I said so far and what the why world needs diplomacy. In the words of Tony Benn, and I quote, "All war represents the failure of diplomacy," unquote. Thank you so much. This was Team India on official and public diplomacy.
Thank you, Indians team. We saw yesterday how India goes like a team on everywhere session, even in official session like we do now, even like dancing party or everything else. So we know that Indians are equally like a team every time. So thank you for that. Next speaker, I would like to present Ksenia Shevtsova, Chief Specialist of the Expert Council for the Preparation and Support of the Russian Federation's Presidency in the BRICS Association. Please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ksenia Shevtsova, and I have a very long name of the body where I work. But to speak short, this is a body which has been formed last year just to prepare the Russian chairmanship in BRICS this year. And it's responsible for elaboration of expert analytical papers and for advisory and recommendations work for all the organs of Russian Federation involved into the chairmanship. So it is a work with different ministers, ministries, agencies, and institutions of development of the Russian Federation. So since my colleagues have already told you about the priorities of BRICS, about values, principles, and impacts of COVID, I'd like to focus on a couple of different things. First is practically how to organize a chairmanship of Russia, or just a chairmanship in BRICS. And I also would like to tell you about one opportunity in the end of my presentation. So just to remind you the general structure of any chairmanship, it has a lot of different events and formats, starting from forums as we have it right now, working groups, and meetings of ministers, leaders, and so on. An interesting thing here is a meeting of Sherpas. I think everyone in this room knows who Sherpas are, official representatives of our countries in BRICS. But is there anyone in the room who knows why Sherpas are called Sherpas? Anyone not from experts, from participants, just any guesses? So then I'll tell you. So if you ever would like to climb Everest, you will have to hire a special person who is called a Sherpa, and this person has a special expertise. He knows everything, he or she, and this person will guide you to the top of the mountain. And I think this is really nice that official representatives of countries in international organizations are also called Sherpas. And in BRICS, we also have these people who are the core of BRICS. So in fact, what's going on when a country needs to host an international chairmanship in an international organization like BRICS? So first of all, there are many ministries and development institutions which have their own goals they need to implement during the year. And they form a special organ, which is called this year BRICS Russia Expert Council, which consists of experts. And under the requests of these ministers, the council prepares numerous papers. And chairmanships are not only about events, but mostly about papers and negotiations. And these people are qualified, they are professional in various fields, starting from agriculture to international security, and they write drafts of declarations that are adopted by ministers. They give recommendations on what aspects of different agencies' work should be taken into account, and so on and so on. Then these draft documents considered by ministers go to our BRICS partners for them to give their comments, to give additional suggestions, proposals, and then these documents are discussed at various levels, at senior official meetings, at sectoral meetings, and various actors, interested parties give recommendations while ministers consider them in accordance with official track of BRICS and in accordance with interests of our countries, and then it all goes to the final declarations of ministers and to the ministers, to BRICS leaders. Where the youth is in this process, I put it in the middle. So it's called recommendations from civil society, academic sector, and sectoral meetings, because we are also a part of civil society, and recommendations that are produced by participants of these kind of forums also presented to relevant agencies and ministries that take it into account and I hope and I'm sure that one day you'll see your own proposal in any declaration of BRICS. And I already know these examples of civil and academic initiatives that have been adopted on the level of leaders. For example, New Development Bank has been elaborated by experts. And BRICS Network University is also an idea of experts. So we'll skip a little bit. The BRICS agenda, just really fast. I have put here the Sustainable Development Goals that are most reflected into the BRICS Russian chairmanship this year. It's food security, it's territorial development, it's education, innovations, and technologies. Then going to youth community, I think you already know all these formats, and I just wanted to tell you that these are the core, except for the youth summit events. And BRICS is interested in having a pool of talented youth that will take part in BRICS youth events annually, because they are interested to have these people later in official track of BRICS. That's why I highly encourage you to continue taking part in all these events during next chairmanships, and just to follow them and apply. And the opportunity I wanted to tell you about is the BRICS International School and Contest that will be conducted next year, because it's an annual project. You may also take part. If the epidemiological situation allows, you will be able to take part offline, to come to Moscow, and to listen to lectures, take part in masterclass for free, and so on and so on. If not, so then it will be online, the same as this year. To take part in this contest, you will need just to fill in the application and to submit your own research paper or a project. The best will be chosen and invited to the BRICS school. And according to the contest, best papers will be awarded by different prizes. Here you may see some examples of prizes we gave this year. So most of them are related to your professional development further. So I think, as my time already expired, thank you for attention, and good luck to you at this summit. Thank you.
Ksenia, thank you very much for the coverage of chairmanship structure and for taking into consideration the recommendations from civil society, academic sector, and sectoral meetings such as forums, conferences, and workshops. So now we are giving the floor to Dilbar Sadikova, founder of their Academy of Youth Diplomacy.
So, hello everyone, hope you can hear me. Hope you are all alive. I know that it's like the section is quite long, and I'm very happy by the way that we don't have it only in the online format, but we can also meet offline during the pandemic time. So like 6 years ago, I had an idea to create something for the young people who would like to develop public diplomacy, and 6 years ago I created a non-governmental youth organization in the Republic of Tatarstan, which is close to Ульяновске region, by the way, and the organization called Academy of Youth Diplomacy, and now it unites more than 3,000 people. And we have like a lot of youth events for the young people, like exchange programs, education programs, and we also have the motto to bring diplomacy in a daily life for overall progress. So, like 5 years ago, you know that we had the first BRICS Youth Summit, it was also the idea of young people. And so I have honor, and my team has honor, that we have hosted this event 5 years ago in Kazan. And for us, it was also like a challenge, because we didn't know would the young people would like to gather, would like to have the dialogue, or would this format be competitive? But I'm very happy that we like started the history that still have its, you are the history also, you are the fruits of the event that we have created and founded 5 years ago. So, and talking about the public diplomacy, I would like 100% agree that we, with the representative of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation and with the speaker from the South Africa, that we all need diplomats in every sphere, not like professional ones, but like public ones. So, and the public diplomacy is also the variety of instruments and methods ranging from personal contacts, official media, social media, and educational, cultural, and other programs. So we have different formats that can also provide public diplomacy. It's also the activities of different NGOs, and the main goal is to develop understanding and all-round cooperation between the nations, peoples, countries. And also, for me personally, the role of public diplomacy is to break stereotypes and to build bridges among, first of all, the young people, among organizations and the nations. So, and I would like to say that we have a very unique opportunity among BRICS countries, because all of the BRICS countries are so different, represents all continents. It represents emerging countries, emerging economies, and we have also this one very common things. All of us, the representative of these countries, would like to develop and to promote its business and its countries. So I think that the public diplomacy among the group of BRICS is like the best example to have like an experiment and to face the challenges of different formats of public diplomacy, like cultural exchanges, educational exchanges, sports, for example, business missions, also ecological actions, and other formats. And now, like we're like a participants of BRICS Youth Summit is also a representative of public diplomacy in action. So we, all of us have friends, all of us have followers, and we also can present the ideas of young people, like a public diplomats that would like to show the deepest cooperation. And for me, personally, like the example of BRICS countries, for example, like Brazil, shows the diplomacy through the football, and thank you for that, because it's like the spirit of victory and the spirit of friendship at the same time. Thank you for the South Africa, who shows its diplomacy for the dances that we, for example, had last night, and also the nature that provide the spirit of the fresh area and etc. Thank you for the China, for me personally, the diplomacy of historical and the heritage of its cuisine, which is very delicious at the same time and very different from other cuisines. And for India, for example, for me it's a Bollywood, it's a IT, it's also the variety of different cultures and colors. So all of us can represent different spheres and different unique things of our countries, and all together we can provide the public issues and the cooperation between the countries. So I would say that after this year or some period, we will face I would call it post-COVID diplomacy. So it's also the challenge for the young people. And I believe that, first of all, we should continue our dialogue among the young people and to promote public diplomacy in our social media and our platforms that show how diplomatically can we be. So, and I would like to finish my speech, and I would like to also have some non-formal networking with all the participants, and also I would like to finish with the thesis that all of us are diplomats in the different spheres, and we are also at the same time the person who promotes its country, culture, nation, and all together we can promote the friendship between all the nations. Thank you very much for being the part of BRICS friendship.
Dilbar, thank you very much for your report. I would like to highlight that the unique character of the BRICS format is that it unites countries of different religious traditions, but there is only one thing that unites all of them, is that their willingness to achieve great aims and to communicate on common grounds within their UN Charter principles as well.
Thank you, Oksana. Thank you, dear speakers. Now we finish our session, and let me request all of us to have a coffee break downstairs on the first floor of this building, and then after 15 minutes we will continue our session to have the feedback from the participants, some question and some proposal to our resolution. After that we will discuss the final version of our resolution about BRICS youth diplomacy. Thank you all of us. Let's apply that.